Hello and welcome everyone to the first virtual conference on franchise and channel management by Franchise India. Today's discussion will revolve around impact on franchise industry, myths and aftermath of COVID-19. I'm Preetima Bhardwaj, Project Head Webinars at Franchise India, and would be introducing our speaker for the webinar. Let me start by laying out the ground rules for our attendees. The session will continue for approximately 90 minutes. This will be followed by a Q&A session for the next 10 to 15 minutes. If you have any questions during the course of discussion, you can post them through the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. We will take up questions post the panel discussion. Please participate in poll during the webinar. We would also like to request attendees to keep the questions within the scope of the discussion here today. Let me now introduce our speaker for the session, Mr. Gaurav Marya, Chairperson, Franchise India Group. Today, Gaurav is hailed as the father of Indian franchising. The title is an acknowledgement of his unmatched efforts at evangelizing the franchising concept across India. Having experienced an F&E or at a franchising conference and exposition in the USA in '98, Gaurav returned to India to set up his own franchise consulting and media business. Franchise India has become the largest integrated franchise and retail solutions company in Asia and possibly the world. The group touches more than 5 million individual entrepreneurs annually, impacting more than 250,000 businesses. As chairman of the group, Gaurav is widely admired for his non-conformist operating style, direct and to-the-point advice, and vigorous marketing tactics and strategy. Gaurav is also a serial investor and has invested in over 100 businesses across tech and non-tech. I would now request Mr. Marya to start this session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pratima. Good evening, friends. On behalf of Franchise India Group, Frank Corp, Fran Global, I welcome you all on this special webinar on how does this going to affect, this COVID-19 is going to affect our industry, which is franchising. Why we thought that, our team thought that we should have this webinar, because we felt that it's important. There's a period of anxiety we all passing through, and we need to have a lot of answers. And as the company, Franchise India has been running franchise supply company, which is now the largest in the world, for good 23 years. So we had some experience, our past learnings, obviously nothing we have seen like this, what is happening in COVID. But we have seen other recessions, we have seen other challenging times. So we have put across some learnings which we would like to share with you. So this webinar is planned for that. We'll keep it very interactive. So you have your question answer section, which you can post your questions. I will take them in the end of the webinar. But the idea would be that if this course of next 90 odd minutes, if we are able to see through some learnings which we have and we can pass them in your tough times at this stage, it will be very, very helpful. At Franchise India, when I saw the first day of lockdown, I sent my team 3 important messages, which I would start my webinar from. One message very clearly, I said that like you do a ECG of your body, which is important for your checkup, similarly you do ECG for your business. And what does the ECG stands for? E stands for how do you engage your ecosystem? How you engage your people who work with you, people who supply you, your franchisees, the people working for franchisees, and so on and so forth. So that's very important. So one message was very clear to all my team and say, how do you go and engage everybody every day? And then we went to C. How do we communicate? C stands for communication, how sharp we communicate, how honest we communicate. If we have in problem, we are in problem, we are in problem. So we at least communicate that. And third, particularly for Franchise India, how we guide our clients, our team members, and so on and so forth. So ECG was very important. And from the day one, I remember 22nd of March, when the first day happened. From that day to today, every day our teams are working very, very hard, doing all these webinars and helping them, our clients, our stakeholders, our investors, to be guided more. Second was, which I read, is what I call the equation called E plus R is equal to O. It's a great statement, which means that E stands for events, which is currently happening around us, which is nobody's control. So we are faced with one very tough event of this century, and but R, which stands for results we give to this event, is in our control, how we respond to it, and that would be our outcome. So it's very, very important. How do we respond at this time? And I feel that a lot of people really wait for the times to change and a good times to arrive, and then they start reacting. That's never going to be. You never find the time which is good, and you never find the time which is going to be bad. You have to go on. You have to carry on your strategies. That's very, very important. So that's one message I passed to the team. And third was, a lot of clients are calling. I've done about 200 odd calls in last 30 odd days. And every call starts with client calling me and saying that, look, how do you think this is going to impact? Everybody says the market is going to significantly shrink and things like that. So I say shrinkage is not in your control. So market would shrink, that's for sure. But your market share should not. Rather, this is a great time for good companies to increase their market share. So don't worry about too much on market shrink. Worry about your market share, how you can improve or retain your market share. Rather, good companies improve their market share. So I have the presentation for you, and we will run through about next 90 odd days of presentation. And so let me share the screen. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can.
So before I start, I'll take a minute to give you, because a lot of you, what I've been told by the team is that, uh, you know, the attendees are largely franchise brand owners. But I also feel that when you run these kind of promotions, you get a lot of people who want to get into franchising or have some interest in the industry. So I took one slide just to give you a little overview of what franchising. Franchising literally means the rights of privilege granted. So you pass your trademark, your know-how, your expertise to some other geographical location, to another entrepreneur, and you charge a franchise fees or a royalty. That becomes franchising. India is certainly the second largest marketplace for franchising. We have currently over 7,000 franchise systems which are active in the market. And out of that 7,000, 4,000 would largely be regional, or what I call smaller chains, and about 3,000 would have broader interest of being national brands. And out of that, only about 12% are international brand owners, which are operating in India. So that's what franchising is all about. We see almost every sector today impacted by franchising. A lot of people don't really recognize, but anything you consume today comes from a franchise industry. You send your kids to school, they are running through franchise. All the Euro Kids, Kidsy, Podar Jumbo Kids, or even a DPS. DPS is a great example of one of the most successful franchise systems I see, and probably the most successful Indian brand which has gone overseas. So great company. So DPS is a great franchise. But anything else you consume, you heard, you see a great companies. I mean, I have respect for companies like Lakme, yes, Naturals, which is South-based company, or a Javed Habib. So they are all great organizations, or even a FMCG companies. I mean, today, the greatest company I feel that which is feeding all of us are companies like Amul, Mother Dairy. They all franchise businesses. One of the greatest brands in the world, which is Coca-Cola, is also a franchise. So franchising really impacts almost everything we consume. From both the product side and the service side. So today's session, I have really divided this into three parts. I feel that as we are locked down now, all of us, we are currently a little bit of what I call anxiety and a hold on stage. And at this stage, franchise networks would pass through what are the first challenge would be what I call the survival challenge. How do they really survive in these times, right? And then they would have a growth challenge. So I have really divided the entire presentation into three parts. First, I would like to define what are the 8 challenges your network is going to face. And the second part would be the 8 survival guides, which I feel franchise organizations should follow. And then third is the 8 opportunities I see in a diversity. But more importantly, at this stage, if you are a brand owner or a franchise network owner, first thing you need to do is to really find out how is your industry impacted. It's very important at this stage. I feel that we have classified all our clients into 4 baskets, and I divide them into what I call uh, high impact industries, which would have a very, very long gestations to come back. They're high impact industries. The second would be the medium impacted industries. Then would be low impact industries. And then there would be, and actually a lot of them now, are positively impacted industries, which would see a positive change, especially if you are in industries which would certainly come in huge demand. So first define where you are and do it extremely honestly, because every industry is unique and every brand is unique, and your location is unique. And this you would feel that if you are in one state, you might be lesser impacted than you are in another state. So you need to be honest about your own business, your own industry, how you're impacted. So one of the areas which, before we even start looking at the overall broader picture, couple of rules you need to set for yourself. First, make a very honest judgment about your business, where you stand, what is lying in your bank today, um, how is your franchisee behaving, where do you think your consumers are? Are they going to stay there, or are they going to move? Or would they buy the same way they bought earlier, or they would change? Take a very, very honest opinion. Rather create maybe a 2-page report for yourself, that where do you think your business is going to be in 90 days from now or 120 days from now, and so on and so forth. Second, take hard calls. Especially mid-sized businesses, small businesses are very emotional, because anything they create, they fall in love with that. So you create lovely office, you fall in love with that, because you don't want to leave that office. Say you have retail stores across board, you fall in love with them. You have that great location which you never wanted to give away. So you get a lot of emotions attached to businesses. If you feel that you cannot sustain all of it, then take some hard calls. And even in the cost of losing some things which you always loved, it'll all come back. It'll all come back in 1 year from now, 2 years from now. But at this stage, to retain, which is good and important for you, you need to take hard calls. Third point, retain your A team, because organizations, especially franchise organizations, is built on great teams. And in the rush of saving everybody, you might get into trouble. I would suggest, if you need to let go some people who are non-performers, just let go. Uh, and keep your A team allied with you. They're going to be with you for long term. Rather, give them the best as the markets come back to their natural course. Offer them ESOPs, give them some equity in the business and things, and they reward them best, because they are the people. And a lot of, you would see in these times, and I'm facing in my group, same thing. I'm seeing some great people who would stand by you, who would work hardest at this time. They become your backbone. They would stay with you in this very, very odd hours. They need to be respected the most. So fourth point is stay very focused. Now I'm talking to brand owners, and they're giving me all sort of ideas, and from even getting into people making masks and somebody wants to make sanitizers and things like that. So I feel that not every business is for you, and don't try to be innovative and try to do things which you are not good at. I would say this is the time where you have to be extremely focused on your core business. And it might be tough. It might be the toughest call. You might be in a nightclub business, which you think is not going to come back in next 5 months, but stay honest, stay focused to your business, find out things around it, which you can do, how you can innovate the experience, but you cannot become and try to be smart and try to do something else which doesn't fit you, because this would spoil your energy and a lot of cash, which you don't want to do at this stage. You don't want to get into a new stage or a new industry. That's not the time. This is a stage to extremely be honest about what you're good at and stay focused on that. Fifth point is reserve a lot of cash for you yourself as an entrepreneur. It's very important, and a lot of entrepreneurs in the rush of saving the business put everything there, and they become very insecure, and then they get worried because they get worried about their families and so forth. Save whatever cash you need to have for you, for your family, for next 5 to 6 months. Is important that you save that. Keep it with you. It'll come in give you a lot of mental peace, and you will do a good job running your business, and hence you will do a good job in saving your own people who work for you. So that's very important. At this stage, you are in the center of things. As an entrepreneur, if you save yourself and you look after your family and give yourself peace, so that you will be able to look after a lot of other people. And finally, this time is great. I mean, while you spend times in doing these webinars and listening to a lot of people, we all listening to great leaders, we are listening to global leaders, we get a lot of WhatsApp messages being forwarded every day to us, but we're not spending enough time in our own business innovation. And I feel that this is a great time. Maybe keep a strategic 1 hour or 2 hours every day, religiously work on your business innovation. This is very important for especially franchise companies, because we are very classic, sometimes brick and mortar, old school franchise business models, which we have inherited from mature markets like the US. But now they are innovating every day. KFC is running dark kitchens now. They are innovating their business of how they run their business. So we need to also be at this hour innovating ourselves and seeing where is the consumer moving and how we would continue to address and retain that consumer. So let's start with the first 8 challenges the network would face. So first challenge obviously is cash flows. So what would you be hit on would be strongly cash flows, and I've broken that into your if you are continue to franchise your business, which you will be continue to franchise. How do you re-engineer your capex, and how do you work on your opex? And if you go on the capex side, how do you review your current requirement for capital investment? Rather than your franchisees now buying new equipment, I would say find out a model to lease or get them cheaper equipment. So it's very, very important. Now, a lot of companies, NBFCs are available, a lot of funding organizations are available, which give you a long-term lease plans for your equipment leases. So it will bring your capex significantly down. Evaluate alternative way of financing options. I would say help your franchisees and yourself in terms of how you get your financing options right. It can be equity dilutions, some form of debt. I would not recommend too much of debt at this stage. Debt can be dangerous because cost of capital is actually one of the biggest problems in Indian businesses, especially small businesses. And a lot of asset reconstruction. That's very important if you can align your assets in that manner. Consider smaller yet more efficient business formats. This is something which I am strongly working these days. How do we make more efficient models? Nobody wants to go to remember your restaurant event last and what kind of flooring was there. I mean, while it has to be neat, clean, but don't over-invest in your business formats. Make it extremely efficient, capex light. And that's where the model is going to be. So that the franchisees are able to recover their monies faster. Enhance the consumer experience by multi-channel offering. So I see companies are clearly divided, that they have their franchises doing very clearly brick and mortar businesses, and they also have a central or head office doing online sales. But now encourage your even franchisees to have omni-channel presence. Hyper local is becoming very big. Even they can carry their accounts on Amazon and other places if you are a product reseller. So they can also do omni-channel. So it's very important that you find other ways of helping your franchisees find multiple channels of sales. On the OPEX side, I think you need to engineer the costs. I feel that all the models I see, we are always overstaffed. We have multiple roles. We need to really find out how do we become very, very efficient, extremely efficient. I mean, I go to a small place which in the morning sometimes to get basic breads and grocery and things like that. I see 5 people working in and servicing, because they don't allow more than 1 or 2 people inside. And there are sometimes 5 people inside and servicing 1 person or 2 people consumers. It's absolutely inefficient. And we've been running all these businesses like that. Uh, and so we need to find out how we run very efficiently our business models. Inventory management has to be there, just in time model, which means have only inventory which is required for the store. Don't overstock. Don't even try to push your franchisees to carry more stocks. Uh, Bulk discounts is important. See what you need to do. If you can bring some advantage on your supplies, manage your payable efficiently, negotiate longer period. Well, it's going to be difficult. A lot of your vendor suppliers would ask payments much in advance, because they also would be running out of their capital. But try to negotiate well. And collecting your receivables faster. This is something which you need to be creative. How do you get your receivable faster? Offer some discounts if people pay on cash, or people pay on before time, so that you can bring cash flow back in the system. And another thing which is very important, that from a consumer acquisition viewpoint, don't go all over to find new consumers. First round is focus on the loyal customers you have in the system, and just focus on them. How do you service them better, and how you get them more purchase cycles. Second big challenge I see is talent loss. Why I say this? While on one side we feel that there will be a lot of talent available, but we also feel that there is going to be a talent. I'll give you an example. I was talking to a client of ours which runs a South Indian chain in Pune, and I asked him, I says, what is your biggest challenge? Because everything, your business is still great. I mean, whenever it opens up, I don't think people are not going to mind having South Indian food. It's still a easy food, is vegetarian. So your business is still okay. The biggest trouble he had was that his entire staff has left and gone. And most of them are South Indians. They've gone to South India, and they're not returning soon. And so he has a big problem. How do we now get talent back to reopen the business? So it's very important at this stage, that how do you continue to communicate with your team and keep them motivated. uh, while you need to do some corrections on your team, that's fine, but you need to still retain people so that your business stays there. We found the same thing in a lot of retail businesses. People have gone to their own hometowns, and they are not available. So there is a big challenge, and you need to divide the talent into 2 parts. One I call the critical and non-critical. Critical, you really need. You cannot leave them. You cannot let them go. So communicate, prioritize, develop the plan for prioritizing team in terms of their contribution and cost, and optimize convert their fixed salaries in combination of some variable and some fixed, but give them higher variables so that they are sticking to the point, and they're working even harder to get the revenue from your consumer. This is my big worry with a lot of franchise channel, and from automobile to fashion to consumer goods. This is going to be a big issue. While nobody is talking about it at this stage, but I feel that it's a big danger today, sitting in franchise outlets which are overloaded with inventories, and either inventories would get damaged, or they would get outdated. Now, there's an interesting saying which you can see. It's these inventories are not like wine, which get better than with age. These inventories are having no value if it is prolonged for some time. So you need to first see that how do you really find a way to liquidate these inventories, because for all the product companies, I think the biggest problem they would have is how do they liquidate these inventories. I give you example. In 2008, I opened up an office. In 2007, I think we opened up an office in Dubai. And 2008, this whole um, you know recession happened, and people left, and they left their cars on the airport, and Dubai was in a big trouble. And after 2-3 months, by the time they settled down, government of Dubai launched a big program for their retail businesses to put everything, almost everything in Dubai at that time was 70% off. And you started seeing people started buying because 70% off was a big off. And they started coming back to malls. They started buying whatever they always thought they wanted to buy, but they never had money to buy and things like that. So they cleared, because they understood if they're not able to clear, most of these retailers would go out of business, or they will never have cash to bring fresh inventories in system. And so at this stage, you need to really find out how you are able to, uh, you know, clear your stocks, and don't go by decision which the industry takes. A lot of time we are followers. Followers means that, oh, everybody would come on a discount and I will come on a discount, and everybody is offering 30%, let me also offer 30%. Do your own calculation, find out where you stand. If you can handle it, and if you feel that you can handle 50% discount, 60% discount to clear your old stocks, and you want to really bring the cash back, go out and do it. Don't wait for some association to do it for you. So you need to really take your own decision at this moment, and these decisions should be yours. And you need to see your own financials and how you can stand by those decisions. So develop a model to a more efficient stock planning. Future planning is also has to be very efficient. Don't over forecast your stock plannings. Build a system to ensure that certain amount of predictability comes in your business model. Very important to have a predictability, especially for people who run central kitchens and they supply to stores. They need to bring in strong analytics, because they would have a lot of issues. One day you will have no sales, and this lockdown, lockup, opening might continue. You never know, So sometimes the particular zone becomes a red zone, or a hard zone, or whatever that is called. So you need to be very sharp on your predictability. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of these losses coming through. Stock correction is very important. Rotate your stocks within your network itself. I call shelf to shelf. Switch to, as I said, just-in-time inventory model. You need to have absolutely efficient inventory cycles. Set up with the online aggregators. I've heard that all online aggregators are now aggressively negotiating with suppliers deals where they can help them to liquidate their stocks. So they will pass the benefit to the consumer, so the consumer gets excited and buys. And set up some factory outlets if your products needs these. Change some of the outlets into factory outlets. That's also idea. So some of your outlets you feel that would not do well or would have issues, change them into factory outlets. Shift your some old inventories there, run heavy discounts on that, so that you are able to clear your inventories. So another thing which you need to do for your franchisees and yourself is 3 to 6 months of working capital post opening. And this is something which is very worrisome, because anyway our economy was not doing well. We had, to my knowledge, I mean, I don't know, a lot of people don't accept, but 2019 was not a great year. I see very little excitement in our network, at least in franchising. Almost everybody was just surviving. So we had not so great year. So I think not many companies would have enough reserves. People would have reserves for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. That's it. So post this opening, and if I say that we resume by this 90-day cycle, so you have used significant amount of that reserves or you would have to when you go back, because you have to pay a lot of other pending payments. So how do you really now get another 3 to 6 months of working capital? So you need to really see how you bring in some cash in so that you are able to feed that this interim period. It's very tough. Like we are advising companies to liquidate some assets. So that's very important. I'm reaching out to a lot of brand owners who also run their own company-owned stores, and I'm saying, if you're running 20 company-owned stores, maybe liquidate 5 of them. Give it to franchisee, bring the cash in, sit on that cash. It will give you a runway for 5-6 months. That's a great strategy. So imagine if somebody was running 200 company-owned stores, and you don't have that cash. So it's not bad if you, out of that 200 stores, 25 you franchise out. You still sell products out of their stores. The stores are running well, but you get 25 stores capital back in the system, which you can use it to really mobilize your business model. So we are doing a lot of work on that. That how do we really help companies get enough cash to survive for next 3 to 6 months. So revision of your working capital cycle, inventory planning, manpower deployment, optimize your rental payment, implement revenue share models, go back, honestly talk to your landlords and even suppliers, talk to suppliers, renegotiate your credit cycles, and also work with a lot of other areas which can help you to get your liquidity in. This would be a big change. I think the consumers would change very fast. And I feel that one of the areas which I read, which I should share with you, is uh, that brands had very clear segregation. Consumers had very clear segregation in terms of how they choose brands. Uh, they either chose from the level of service, which I call the warmth you get from the brand, or they chose from the competence of the brand. Now it will be actually together. How the brands can demonstrate both, how they can take care of their consumers, which means that they would look after their interests, they look after their well-being, look after their safety, look after a lot of things, but they also are extremely competent. You will not trust a second line brand. You would go to the first brand, and trust on that. So people would trust Mother Dairy now. They don't want to try any other milk or any other thing which they have not heard, because they don't know about how hygienic it is and things like that. But Mother Dairy has been Mother Dairy. It's a well-run cooperative. People have been using them so you'll see a lot of trustworthy brands go very high now, because they're great organization. Rather, where I live in, Mother Dairy has actually set up a small kiosk inside the society, and they're servicing people. So they're showing a great warmth. They're telling they're concerned, and they're also a very competent company. The milk comes on time. They deliver all the SKUs. They're never on shortage. So these kind of companies would grow significantly. How they would be able to deliver this, a lot of changes which consumer would see, and I'm reading that people would change forever, and they would have a lot of new priorities. And I think there would be some changes, and that's my own perception, but most of them would be temporary changes, which would stay for anything from 3 months to 6 months. And these are 90% of these. So all of us, who thought that we always loved cooking at home, would not cook at home. So that's for sure. So it might look like that we all like cooking at home, we all like sanitizing our home, we all like cleaning all day our homes. These are all temporary changes. As the world would become safer, we'll try to come to normal, right? And some changes would be permanent. Some changes which I feel would be permanent, because like a lot of people in our food business are telling me that, look, now people would only order food at home, and they will not go out and eat. This is not true. Like, while humans are by nature lazy people, so they would stay at home and they would order food at home. That's okay. That is a trend which we always knew. We always wanted somebody to cook for us, and now it's because we don't have cooks at home, we are ordering from outside. So that's the only change which has happened, from at least from a home delivery viewpoint. But we are still very human and also equally social. They are very social. They need to go out and meet their friends and meet their families, and they would still go out. So it's all about I think most of the changes are very temporary, and what 10% are very permanent. Permanent changes are things which you need to focus on. And I feel that health, safety, uh, honest product feedbacks, these are going to be very strong changes, which would be. Another McKinsey report says health is one of the top 5 human priorities now, and it will become even bigger. So how do you reflect that? How do you reflect safety? How do you reflect even our businesses, our offices, where people work, and so on and so forth? How health and safety would become very important part of it. These are changes which would be very important. Traditional mom and pop stores will focus on non-essential items, would badly struggle badly. I completely agree with that. And business evolution would happen, which would mean that people would switch to omni-channel presence. We already seeing that big time. Uh, People would create franchise models which are neighborhood concepts, hyper local, even more hyper local now. And obviously the aggregators and direct to home and delivery businesses, they all would rise. Another challenge which is would happen and hit your franchise business would be what I call disturbed supply chain and your vendors. This is happening all over. So 66% is happening because of lack of transport, and it'll continue because the borders would suddenly. In the morning, I saw Delhi and Noida border is sealed. Now you need new passes and new things. So police is another reason you will find our administration, because we have states not talking to other states, center not talking to state. So we'll have a lot of issues on that. We'll also have a lot of people who would not like to, handle this. Vendors would not be able to do it because they have people who fear because of they would get infected. And they're the most exposed. So it will be an issue which happened recently with one of the Zomato's delivery guy got infected. It actually shocks almost everybody who's working on the delivery side at Zomato, because they feel that they have their lives on danger. And a lot of them has actually also left home. So a lot of delivery capabilities are disturbed. So I feel that how do you really find that how your supply chain doesn't disturb, and how do you really go local in your supply chain? So I would say another companies I'm seeing, like there are companies we did called variety retails, companies like Minisu, 2358, Yoyosu. A lot of companies came in. They run about now close to about 900 odd stores within India. Everybody is totally dependent on supplies from China. And I can tell you many other chains. Collectively, we did some back of the card calculation. There were about 10,000 stores in India in different categories and so on and so forth, which completely depend on imports from China or other markets. How they're going to survive? These imports are not going to open up easily, and if they open up, there will be a lot of issues. There would be freight issues, there would be other cost issues and inconsistencies and so on and so forth. And then there would be emotion issues. You never know, people stop buying Chinese product because they're so upset with China. Not so much in India, but in any part of the world, especially in Europe, they can just ban products. So you need to quickly go out and find out what is your strategy to source local and very reliable, and also utilize unutilized capabilities. For example, yesterday I had a call with a company out of South India, which was one of the big exporters of seafood. And they are now launching, and they're looking at Indian market because they feel that export is not going to come back soon. So they are shifting their focus on Indian consumption, which is great idea. And then they told me that, look, because all this all these flight kitchens, which is Taj or Mudut or many other, are lying idle because planes are not flying and they have kitchen capacities which are over, and they don't see the capacities coming back in next 2 years also. So we are going to them and actually using their spare capacities to manufacture, which is a great idea. So you need to really innovate. Don't wait for this time to entire things. Find out who can be your next supplier, who can give you more efficient supplies, and at this hour. And also localize, as I said, localize your raw material. As local you will become, as efficient you will become at this hour. Don't over depend on overseas supplies and things like that. It can be very, very inconsistent, and I worry that after this health hazard we are facing in the world, you'll have another bigger problem which would come, because countries would economically fight with each other. So they would create set rules with each other, which would be sometimes driven by their populist demand, because everybody wants to hate you to hate China, and everybody wants to hate China. And sometimes it will work on protecting their own people, their own industry, and so on and so forth. So it can disturb all your supply chain. So if your businesses are going to be affected, this is a time for you to focus, and focus greatly on that. And especially Indian retail, I see has a big problem, because we have a lot of dependability on imports. I know big companies, even companies like Reliance has a separate company called Reliance Brands, which runs these brands called Diesel, and a lot of other companies. They all import, you know, and they have to quickly change those strategies and talk to the brand owners to allow them to take a license and manufacture in India. So this all has to be done very fast, because otherwise they would have very inconsistent supply structures. Inflation would also be a big problem. I think this would hit us in next 3 to 4, 5 months. So you need to really see how do we adjust that. I mean, adjusting your pricing, reduce your debt and improve your cash flows, optimize your business productivity, look at deploying a lot of technology, and so that you can reduce manpower cost and so on and so forth, and elevate your supplier situation, so that you are able to retain those margins, and be able to still give the pricing right to the consumer. This is another area which I feel we would get into. So we are at this stage locked in. Nobody's calling you because they feel let's open up. But as this all would open up, we'll all get into multiple legal issues, and this can be multiple issues. It can be like in US has already started. Public health and safety issues become very big. If you have an employee who comes and works into your outlet and or at your office and gets sick, and God forbidden it has a fatal result, they can sue you because you didn't do public safety. And a lot of these issues would start coming out at this stage. We feel, and India is not still in that sense so vulnerable in that. But US, you will see almost everybody was suing each other. They would just, lawyers would have only one time. They would be just going after the businesses, and a lot of businesses would just collapse because of unwanted legal issues. uh, you know You'll also have a lot of enforcement of obligations on each franchisee to comply with their requirements. So franchisees would sometimes have real issues. They don't want to really pay your royalties, and and sometimes they would use this as an excuse. So a lot of legal issues would start between your network. I also see a lot of franchisees, collectively refusing to do a few things, and because they want unwanted support from the franchisor or vice versa. I also feel that understand the state level issues would also come. A lot of state and local issues and industry based issues would also rise. So you need to really at this stage see where are you legally exposed, and wherever you are exposed, how do you cover that, and where you need to go and sit down with somebody to negotiate, rather than spending your next 1, 2, 3 years in courts and things like that. So I feel that courts would get overburdened because a lot of legal issues would happen. The landlords would ask you to pay lock-in times. They might agree on a phone now, or you will wish him, or they would wish you. And but as it all opens up, you might see that landlord would say, no, no, I don't want to waive anything. You have to pay the rental. And maybe there will be a lot of issues. A lot of issues I see coming there. So I would end this part. This is first eight part of the slide with one particular saying on, especially on the legal issues. So you should never negotiate in fear, but never fear to negotiate. So at this stage, it's important that you don't fear out of these issues. What needs to come is to come. But if you want to address something, this is the time, go out and address. If you don't want to continue a location, and then just act on that, send a notice and say we don't want to continue on that location. So it's very important that you take a solid legal advice. Franchise India also has a team which we don't do litigation, but we do advisory on that. We call Fran Legal. So anything which we can help on, any questions you have, which we have seen in our past, we can help you out. So now this is the 8 points of survival guide for franchisors. How do companies survive this time, and how do they really? So I see this. There's a poll going on in between. So if you also continue to give your answers, and Pritima, if you want to anytime want to announce what is the poll results, please feel to do that, because then I'll continue. So a lot of people voting, and I see, yeah, so everybody is voting for it.
Sure, sir. We'll announce the poll results in some time.
Okay. So I continue, or you want to wait for the poll result and then I continue?
So you can continue for now.
Okay. Thank you. So this is the first part, and this is, I strongly believe, and especially in a franchise network, communicate daily to your network. This you don't have a choice. You need to communicate on a daily basis to your network more than ever you ever did, right? So this is most important, and this is something which I'm seeing some companies are doing extremely efficiently. And great leaders are doing even more. I see these great leaders like Anand Mahindra, a place like them. They're all over. They're just leading in front, and communicating to their network. I know how much pain these automobile companies are. All his businesses are impacted outside IT a little bit. His auto business would take ages to come. His timeshare business would take a lot of time to come. But he's communicating. He's keeping that positivity to the network. I know the challenge he's facing on his dealerships. The dealerships are loaded with the stock levels which would take at least 18 months to go, and these have a problem, and especially automobile dealerships, I think they're on the verge of bankruptcies. So how difficult it is for these large enterprises, but he's still communicating, he's still talking to everybody. And I'm sure they are planning also how they address. At this stage, this is all about the world healthcare and so forth. But as it opens up, it'll become all about their own network, how they save their own network. Consider ideas from franchisees. I think at this stage, all ideas would come from your franchisees themselves. What they want to do, what is their plan, what is their revival plan, and how you can create a collective plan from your network and then implement or help them implementing. And work with your franchisee, create maybe a franchisee advisor council. Very important. Pick up these strong people, 7-8 people who have a great influence on your network, and they're very logical. They're very committed to the brand. Sometimes they're great logical people, but they're not so committed to the brand. They should not be an advisory. But advisory should be people who are one, very logical, and they can really bring in some real valuable advice, and they are extremely committed to the brand. Create an advisory council on them, and help them to work with your network and support them. Sometimes very difficult for you to, if you have 200 franchisees, to communicate to 200 franchisees, and they have another 10 member each working in each franchise. So it's very difficult to communicate to so many people directly. So you need to create smaller groups, and these groups communicate on a regular basis, and you get their feedbacks out. Very, very important point. The second point, which is called the runway to recover, RTR, I call it. How do you do a RTR to fix each franchisee? What is the timeline for every single franchisee? Because every single franchisee is so unique, and a unique location, on a unique condition. Some have very big vintage. They made money. They're sitting on some cash flows. They've cleared the entire thing. Some are not so much affected. They might have their own properties, but some are really affected. These are people who might have started the business 3 months back, and they've just now closed, and all their capital was already deployed to setting up the business, and now 3 months they have no money to come back. How are they going to come back? So I would say, in your core team, create a core task force. How these would be helping the franchisees to, once the markets open up, review your franchisee supply chain and other third-party contracts, and some contracts, if they need the help to change. One of my invested companies is Remax, which is the largest real estate broking company. And I told my new franchisee, I say, for next 6 months, I don't want you to take offices. Just work out of co-working places, because co-working places would give you cheap rates now, because they also don't have, because a lot of people have canceled their contracts, so they would sign up cheap contracts. So don't put any overhead. Work on variable structures, limited overheads. So, and don't go out and invest into lavish offices and so on and so forth. Wait for 6 months and then you come back and do that. Look after your franchisees, review their contract setups and so on and so forth. Choose between receiving royalties and retaining franchisee. Very important point. I mean, now a lot of people are asking me, what should we do? Waive off franchise fees, the royalties. Uh, there is no one answer, right? You need to understand the real problem with every franchisee. What is real? And if they need some kind of relaxation, while you have to also run your business, you also have to get your royalties. But if you can give some time, not so much a waiver, but maybe split that and give them some time over the time, that would be great, to one, show that you're committed with them and you're working with them. Ensure that the franchisees look after their employees. A team. Tell your franchisee also retain your A team. The guy who looks after your business should be there with you. You cannot retain everybody. It's very difficult. I mean, this answer nobody has, And even there was an article in Times of India yesterday, I think so, where governments have put in huge benefits for SMEs to pass it back to their entire thing. But this all can be done for first month. They will not do it for the next month. They will not do it. And this is what I'm talking about. Developed market. India is still not have any announcement done on helping SMEs or small chains or mid-sized businesses and so on and so forth. It's very difficult. It's going to be very difficult. Even the largest of the companies can do it for 1 month, but next month what would happen? So they're not going to retain everybody, but you need to still help your franchisees retain at least their core team, the critical team which needs their business to run. And also work with them. As I said, franchisees have to make sure that they have significant liquidity and protect the franchisee consumer base. Very important for them to do that. Yesterday, I was having a call with one of the large salon chains, and rather they are in the third open up phase in one of the states, and he says, because it is a very people contact business and it can have real issues, and they don't want to do it, so they're very confused how they should do that. So they should really educate their consumers. They need to create a lot of awareness, a lot of very effective awareness, and work with maybe closed group of consumers and work very closely with them, look after their hygiene, give them full comfort that your locations are extremely, whenever it opens up, are very safe, and avoid any kind of experimentation. Watch your teams very closely, see their hygiene levels, their entire thing, and anything which gives you doubt, react fast on that. So a lot of that principles we need to do, and in your runway to recover. So one of the areas which we are working now with our clients is focus on immediate cash. Whenever it opens up, how do they get quick cash in? What kind of promotion they want to run? What kind of offers they want to run? Uh, as I said, markets would shrink. There is no doubt about it. And I was talking to one of the homes supplies company, and he was sounding that look, our industry would take it was the last in demand, and so on and so forth. People are not going to buy the home furnishing and things like that. On the contrary, I told him that look, people have spent most time of their life in homes, right? And they found so many things gone wrong in their home. They have this mattress lying with them which they wanted to change. It might not be priority today. That's okay. If India was buying 100,000 mattresses, there might be 10,000. But at this shrink of market share, you can also increase your market. You can increase your market share. Markets would shrink. That's okay. But you can increase. You need to bring in your offer fast, and you can go out and say, you always wanted to change your mattress, and we are giving you at 30% or 40% or whatever that number is. Create a shocking value out there. Don't wait for any other competition of yours to do it. You shock the world, bring your offer out, and get your customer. Because at this time, there would be still a buyer for everything we have. But it might be in small in quantity. Whosoever would bring in the best offer out there and be aggressive would take away. So I would strongly say that if you're running a chain, don't wait for others to react or others to set a goal for you or what they want to do. And sometimes most of us just follow because everybody comes in sale, I would come in a sale. At this stage, whatever promotion you want to set for yourself, anything you want to do, which is exciting. Like we have a client of ours, which is in biryani business in Bombay. And this guy, when this started, shifted his business to vegetarian food and very home food, staple food. And he was in the area which is this Juhu and other areas, and not Juhu actually, further down. And there are a lot of people who are living by themselves, and these artists who live there. They are not eating biryani. They are becoming conscious at this moment because they don't want to have maybe non-vegetarian or food like that, and so on and so forth. But they still need home cooked hygienic food because they don't have ability or sometimes don't have facility to cook themselves. And this guy was selling at about 25,000-30,000 a day sales, which he never did in his biryani business. So he quickly saw where is an opportunity and brought his promotions out and went out and said, look, this is what I'm delivering. And this is, I'm talking about lockdown, but post lockdown, you need to really see who's your immediate client, which is available, would buy. And that's something which you would see smart companies would do very, very fast. They would not like to wait. So be smart, go out and do this. And also negotiate with your creditors to get you favorable payment cycles, work with your debtors to ensure faster collections, and build volume, offer and promotions that attract consumers to tap new volumes. And this is what I think Dubai has been champion on. Anytime, every 3-4 years, Dubai goes down, and then they start running promotions. They give you hotels cheap, they give you airline cheap, they give you visa on arrivals, and get you inside, and then give you shopping cheaper, and so on and so forth. So people start going there, and they go in summers which are running over 50-degree temperature, and go and shop in the stores in Dubai malls and things like that. And this is just because they know how to attract, and they run promotions. They go out in the world and tell people that look, we are the cheapest, and if you always wanted to buy a Louis Vuitton bag, it will be cheapest with Louis Vuitton. Obviously doesn't do offers, but any other luxury brand, it'll be cheapest in Dubai. So people would go there and shop and buy things they always wanted to buy because they were coming in a lifetime offer value. This is what we are working very strongly with our clients, collaborate and share resources. I'll give you an example. I'm working with a client which runs about 25 stores and has a foreign import. And we discussed a few days back, and I felt that this would not work in this moment, but we have another competition which has a local manufacturing capability. So we reached out to him and trying to collaborate. So if we can start sourcing or collaborating or getting from them, and both brands can coexist or partner. So see where collaboration, it can be done between your network itself, how your network can collaborate. I mean, like there is a client of ours, I've not obviously spoken, but called Chai Garam in Delhi, and this company runs multiple smaller stores, and each store has 3-4 people. He can see that how these stores can collaborate. They can use resources, because somewhere there are rush hours in some few days, and some have rush hours in other days. If manpower can be shared, other resources can be shared, and so on and so forth. So this is very, very important, that at this stage you find collaboration within your network, and also collaborate with other competition. I feel that this is not a time to create. If you have 10 other competition with you, talk to all of them, and which are doing the same business, and see how you all can collaborate and how can work with each other, and bring better efficiencies in your businesses. So franchises should hold and power of innovate and adapt practices to respond to market conditions. Franchisees hold to power of adopt to execute their system changes to help the franchise system pivot the direction and allow the businesses to remain relevant, competitive, and profitable. And neither party can accomplish this alone. Each party is dependent on others. So it's very important that we we at this stage try to be very, very collaborative in nature. This is extremely important: training and talent recruitment, and how do you really get uh, training for your people, because now a lot of fresh talent would have to come, because a lot of people would have left and new talent would come. And this time around, how can you make talent multitasking? So I see the future of franchise brands, very, very efficient systems, multitasking manpowers, and more importantly, training of your franchisee is going to be extremely important. you know and you need to invest this time, maybe use this time which is locked down, to drive manuals of your organizations, define almost every uh, you know a process in your system or your company, define a manual and train teams on that. Because I feel one of the areas Indian businesses, actually Indian businesses have two main problems. One, undercapitalization. I think most of the businesses are undercapitalized. And the second big problem is, I think, our training at our businesses, especially in franchise businesses. We don't really have a system of training and continuous training of our people. So that makes the businesses very inefficient. And because they're inefficient, we hire more people, and so that puts pressure on margins, profitability, sustainability, and so on and so forth. So this is very important that we spend a lot of time in, and also understand what is your future talent requirement. How you going to be, what is going to be your talent requirement. And I feel that this is not a hiring mode. This is seeing that how do you shift, skill up people. So which means that if you have less people but you need this extra role, skill up. How do you get them more skills, so that's easy rather than just hiring another person. So we always, I mean, Indian businesses were on a just a hiring spear. We always, for every position, we just create a role and hire another person, which is great because we need such employment. But at this stage, businesses have to sustain. So we need to skill up people, give them bigger responsibilities, and maybe give them bigger paycheck. But and that can only come from training them. And we also have to have structured training programs. Franchise needs to focus on training modules, which they can split into two phases. One is the franchisor office, corporate download, and that's very important, which is when you have a franchisee coming on board, where we do the full corporate training. And I have side training, which is when the franchisee location training, which is hands-on training. That is a missing part. We help them get into business or get started, but we don't do a full training program. And very few franchise organizations in the country I have seen, even the big ones, don't have a very efficient training structure. I would also say that now another training which becomes, and we are integrating within Franchise India in our manuals, because we do operating manuals. But one of the areas which would become very critical going forward is how do you ensure safety at work, and that would become another manual, and you have to train people. And sooner or later, we will, after whenever we come out of this, you will see health ministry and things that would ensure that all the businesses, especially small and micro businesses, ensure this thing. So it will become a very important part of your business cycles. So this is point number 6 of survival. So how do you really understand what I call microeconomics of your business? How do you re-engineer your cost structures? How do you renew and adjust your distribution strategy to focus on more online or from the aggregator? Adjust your supply chain and distribution strategy. Hold new initiative planned for 2020. Uh, Renew your 2020 strategy. What is going to be maybe I would say the first 2 quarters of 2020 should be no additional expense. Work on limited resources, make most efficient part of it, and then the last 2 quarters you can talk about growth and adding infrastructure, putting more fresh capex, or adding new manpower and so on and so forth. Reduce your spend on media. While we are a media company, we don't want people to spend less on media, but more efficient on that, because sometimes when you in the exercise of building brand, you go all over, but you don't know what is the outcome is coming in. And media would also now become very efficient in telling clients that how you are benefiting out of it. What is your ROI on every dollar you spend on media or any marketing? Discretionary spend, I think businesses, especially like our businesses, I mean, we've been traveling so much. I personally was traveling 20 days, and I feel that with kind of technology we all using, it's such a waste. We have to become more efficient, and we need to really see that we cut down a lot of cost in areas which we don't need to spend that much. While we should travel, we should have face-to-face meetings, but if it can be avoided and we can save some monies, that's very important. Uh, we reprioritize your production capabilities and what kind of focus you need on which categories. Adjust your innovation strategy. Innovate. What you were thinking of doing in business earlier, now you have to do it. Maybe your business format has to be completely innovative, or a new model has to get evolved. Not so much our product or service. Again, I will repeat: don't be innovative on getting into your non-core category or a new category altogether. Stay within your category. Stay focused on your core. But how you innovate in terms of your consumer distribution and so on, so that you can find. Say if you are a salon and you feel that your brick and mortar structure would take some time, where people still are hesitant on coming, or they want in their comfort, maybe you start direct to home services, hyper local services, or things like that. Obviously postpone your recruitment, which is another area which you can work on, because you know you have to get your current people. This is a very big judgment which we are trying to do. We have a lot of redundant positions which we feel that we will not be able to do, but we also have some positions we want to hire. Now the issue is going on with us is that how do we really shift the current people rather than letting them go and hire new ones? How can we within the system accommodate our people? So we're doing a lot of organizational restructuring. So other priorities is, as I said, just-in-time model for inventories, pass on bulk buying cost advantage to franchisee partners. All the advantage, you're holding too much of margin in between. This is a time to pass that margin to a franchisee. Renegotiate and relocate if rentals are high and you want to change something. Waiving off portion of your royalties, reducing advertising fund contribution from franchisee, and share it across the network, and maybe temporarily suspending some other fees which you are collecting or doing. So help your franchisees and their networks to be more efficient and manage their micro costs. Working capital funding is, I think, this plan, do, and what I call check and act. So it's very important that you currently understand that how your working capital requirements are just ensuring sufficient liquidity for your franchisee, which I think is going to be the biggest problem, and it needs a stronger planning. You need to talk to the franchisees and then let them open up honestly where they are, what stage they are, how they're going to be sustaining for weeks and months and so on and so forth. I have a I have a feeling that that about 20% of businesses would not return because of their non-ability to get even the basic funding to get started again. And second, they would not return because they might not have the motivation to return. So so it's a big issue, so we need to really talk to every single franchisee and see where they are at this stage. They might not be opening up right now, but as it comes closer to the date of opening up, and they would be having a very difficulty in taking the decision to come back in business, because they don't want to put an extra 1 lakh rupees or extra 2 lakh rupees to get their business back started. uh, do engage with a lot of bankers and other lenders. A lot of people are giving working capital finance. We can also help you out. Franchise India has many relationships, and they're all lending anything from as low as 5 lakh rupees to 25, 30 lakh rupees, which can give some cushion to your franchisees for getting started, and help them through some of the suppliers if they can extend a little bit of credit line, which is also very difficult. You need to maybe chip in and help them in terms of doing it, and other lot of other areas which you can help them in terms of their any kind of financial. Government would also release some support, but the supports from government, when it comes, most of the people don't know how to really benefit out of it, right? Franchise financing has always been there, but very few companies use franchise financing, right? And there is a special bank for Mahila Bank, which is only lends for women entrepreneurs, but very few people would know and use that. So there are a lot of schemes by MSME available, ministry, which we are not using. So just read. If you need any help, Franchise India can help you out in finding out which can help your working capital, so to say, provision. Uh, then prepare short-term cash flow forecasts and review them regularly, and hold regular virtual meetings with and financial positions of your businesses, and especially for the franchisees, and improvise and stabilize these changes, and approach to achieve perfection, which means that whatever is working for one franchisee, then start repeating another network and so on. This is royalties, and so you will have franchisors. Current situation would be, especially service franchise companies would have a huge issue that franchisees would stop giving royalties, or they don't want to give, or they want to waive offs and things like that. And what should you do? And what should be a course on this? Uh, my simple example is that it's a firm and flexible. Firm and flexible means you have to be firm on things which you don't want to change, and flexible in areas which you can give a little bit of advantage to a franchisee, so that they are able to recover. So you don't look like that somebody who's not willing to support your franchisee and this difficult time. You need to show leadership in that. You need to show your concern, but you cannot kill the brand also. You have to be very sure on that. So if anything which can be flexible for a time area, that would be great. So brand owners may forgo and defer receiving royalty payments, which means that you can split the payments over the time, or your receivables from your franchisees. A lot of receivable issues would come because most of the times you have to recover a lot of monies from your franchisees, and suddenly they would tell you that, look, my stock is lying with me and I'm not able to sell. You take the stock back, I can pay you money, and things like that. So a lot of those things would happen. Most of the things can be resolved if you sit down and first get them started back in business. I feel that the defaults happen when people lose the business, and they don't want to return back to business. So first and foremost, get your franchisees back in business. All this would be covered slowly and so could you be having a flexibility of payment terms? I would say defer the payment, but don't just waive it off or forgive the entire thing, as it is rarely in the interest to force franchisees into bankruptcy. I feel that saving the network is your call at this moment, and that call, which doesn't disturb your brand and your own performance also. uh, Go out and take it boldly. your franchisees would appreciate in years to come. Now we come down to the last section, and which is what do is I see 8 opportunities in adversity. And so we'll run these 8 opportunities. I'm a big fan of this thing, which is there's always opportunities in adversity, and very few people who start aggressively at this time. A lot of them just wait for the times to get good. You can never predict that. You never predict when the business would be really good to you to come back. So you need to always get going and keep running and rather pushing harder. So where are the opportunities I see at this stage for franchising? And as Franchise India, we've been very aggressive last 30 odd days, almost 3 to 4 webinars. We are reaching out. I think collectively we would have addressed over 20,000 investors in last 30 days, which is like our own show, which we do in Pragati Maidan. We get this kind of people and we market for months and months. And now we've addressed 20,000 people sitting at our homes and through these webinars or Zoom calls. So it's a very interesting change, and so we feel that that's a way to go for us. Another poll which I think has come on your screens. So Pratima, in the meantime, you want to announce some poll results or?
Sure, sir, absolutely. So I think we've done 3 polls till now. The first one was on how has your business been impacted by COVID-19? 7% of the people say that it's a positive impact, which is very good. 6% of the people think there's no change. 56% of people think there's a huge negative impact, and 31% feel that there's little negative impact. And we've got about more than 400 people who voted for this poll. So this is a good one. The second one we have is, what is your expectation of your business total revenue in 2020 compared to 2019? About 20% feel that there's an increase by more than 10%. 11% feel there's increase but less than or equal to 10%. 13% feel it's similar to last year. 9% people say that decrease or less than or equal to 9%, and 47% people say that decrease of more than 10%. We've got more than 315 votes here. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. So we see a lot of people optimistic, and that's very good. These optimistic people would take everybody along, so one of the areas which is a positive sign of franchising is that franchising has always grown after any adversity in the economy, and there are many reasons for it. And one of the reasons is supply of franchisees. New franchisees come in the market. And one of the biggest buyer of franchisees currently is, like in our data, we say 35% of business buyers are first-time buyers, and they are professionals. They're people who were in some form of job somewhere, left it for their own reasons, and they wanted to start a franchise. So now what would happen is that we will have the greatest job loss in our century. So which means that industries have collapsed, and they were highly paid people who would like to buy themselves a job, which means franchising is a great way of buying yourself a job. These micro businesses will grow. We saw that when there was a dot-com burst happened, and a lot of IT jobs and other things were lost. We saw suddenly a boom in franchising, and we saw, especially in cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, those days, a lot of people started buying these preschools were bought by these IT professionals who felt that they were good at this. I mean, looking after kids, they were intelligent couples who started buying, and we saw a sudden wave coming in. And then we saw same thing happening in 2008, where we saw a lot of people who started buying these small micro businesses which generated cash, and they felt that was good. And now particularly, I think the society has changed forever. At this stage, what matters to every single person is their family. people want to do whatever they want to do is to make sure that they have security with their family. So there are only two things on priority of every person in the mind who's sitting at home. One, how do I create a regular income for my family? And second, how do I ensure that I have a nice house which I own? So these are two big mindsets I see, especially in developing world. It might be different in US, it might be different in any other part, but in India, this should be a mindset. So a lot of people would look at these micro small businesses which they can run. Again, I'll give you an example of a somebody who I go in the morning to bake a bread, and I see this owner standing on the corner, and he looks after that nobody really comes to the shop. So many people don't come. They keep the what I call this social distancing, which is 6 feet from each other, and people wait outside his shop. Only one person goes in and shops. Is a very nice writing, and the franchisee himself is also involved. So these are great times where to we get the operator franchise. They would not be worried. They would not be worried about what they're doing. And they might be working behind the counters in coffee shops and making coffee themselves and working with one help or two help. You will find husband wife teams working in stores themselves. They would not have like 7-Elevens globally. You will find the owner sitting himself, and they would not mind doing it. They would do it with pride because they feel that they're doing good for their family. They're making sure that the families have regular incomes, and you'll see a lot of that happening now. And now yesterday the news where Donald Trump saying no more visas. Uh, I expect about 1 million people returning home, and these people would be highly paid people. What are they going to come to India and do? And they want to be investing into businesses, and what kind of businesses they would do, because most of them have never done businesses. So they would rely on franchises. They would rely on brands they can trust, the brands people would know. So this is a great time in that sense that there would be a huge supply of what I call potential franchises coming in. Another area which I have read is conversion franchise. A lot of these mom and pop independent operators would not be able to run themselves, and they would also like to convert into a franchise structure. Uh, I feel that that's also going to be a huge opportunity for conversion. And say you are an independent laundry brand, you cannot run yourself, you don't have your own technology, you might like to convert into a branded laundry chain or a dry cleaning chain or something else. So it will be a great opportunity for you to also see that you're able to convert some franchisees. Operator franchises, I touched upon that. This is something which is going to be a big change. You'll see every single franchise where you would go, you will be seeing operators running it. And these people would save, not only they would earn two things: one, return on capital, and they would also earn what I call return on time. So they would save cost. They would not hire restaurant managers. They would not hire store managers. They would run themselves, and they would save that cost also. So these would be a big change, and very qualified, good operators would come in the business, and they would do much bigger efficiencies to the businesses. So one of the advice I have for franchises, I'd say, spend as much time to really bring in high quality operator franchises in your system. Spend maximum time in training them. Put 2 weeks training programs, minimum 2 weeks training programs, and you should insist that the franchisee himself has to take minimum 2 weeks of training. Third is this is another big advantage, because again the businesses in India were suffering because of what I call occupancy cost. It was ridiculous to see our occupancy cost matching some of the developed countries where we sell products at a developing world prices. So we lose on the overall margins. We work on a very thin margin in businesses, and that's why anything goes wrong, our businesses die, uh, because you cannot make money in some from the kind of rentals you are sitting on. I feel that this is the time this would change. We feel that a lot of property would come in the market, and they would be able to you would be able to negotiate great rental locations. We feel that the prices would fall anything from 16 to 24%, And if the lockdown goes even higher, this number can go even higher. So, renegotiate your, if you are tell your franchisees to go out and renegotiate rentals. And if they feel that this is not working out, relocate. Help them to get some initial funding for some initial capital, or sometimes the landlords are more than happy to put some initial capital for basic renovation so that you can relocate. And and also for I also see another opportunity coming in through on the real estate viewpoint. A lot of landlords would become franchisee themselves. Imagine if I had a property which was great location, and now because the who were operating have left, and I don't see anybody replacing it soon because the rental market would go down. Rather than having property lying idle, I would like to take franchise myself so that at least I can get my opportunity cost coming through. And that also would you see. So, and these are great franchises because they have very lesser pressure. They can also just sustain better because they don't have any rental pressures. So they're even higher gestations for them. They would be able to look after themselves. This is a very important strategy, and we've used it multiple times in advising clients. Whenever you have a situation like this, you will have some very high performing, highly motivated, very well equipped franchisees. And you need to be very carefully finding out who are these 10, 12 uh, top performing franchisees of yours, who know how to run your system well, who are extremely committed to the brand. You need to upgrade them at this stage. And this is something which is great timing to do that. Talk to them, see their ideas, how they want to participate in this whole situation, how you want to bring them and give them an additional offer. And this happened in US in 70s, where people were upgraded, given bigger regions, and they multiplied. And a guy who was running one 7-Eleven went to running 50 7-Elevens. Somebody runs 50 Burger Kings, and so on and so forth. They were great performers. They were not people they all started small. They all were one store, two store people. And over the time, because they championed how to run that business, they were given more opportunity to take this business ahead. So they can help you acquire your struggling outlets. The same franchisee can go and acquire your non-performing franchisees. You can upgrade them into giving them master franchise rights. Talk to them openly and say, I give you this region, you go out and manage and run that region well, and develop the brand in that region. So they could upgrade themselves and also take their assistance on running franchisees. And I'll give you an example. There are many American franchise companies. If you go deeper into that and you find the top positions of their organization are actually their past franchisees, all of them. And say Dunkin' Donuts, the president of their development was one time their franchisee. So sometimes talent doesn't come from outside. Sometimes talent comes from inside. You need to really see somebody who was running a franchise of yours and can run, like in Remax, our director of international expansion was actually a franchisee for Dunkin' Donuts, for actually Baskin Robbins for many years. And because he understood how to run a network, and as an entrepreneur, he was a greater person at Remax to run the global expansion. So find out who's in your network, great franchisees, and how you can elevate them. You can also use some of your employees, who you don't want to lose, but you cannot also afford them at this stage. Can they become your partners? Can they become some of your franchisees, or they can partner with some of your struggling franchisees and help them to do that? So see within your network what you can do, how you can uplift some of your franchisees and some of your employees, and bring them to bigger roles, but entrepreneur roles, where they can help you sustain the network or support the network better. Then negotiate your suppliers. I think this is one of the areas which we have to do it consciously. Even Franchise India is starting a supply platform where all the suppliers which are rated for the franchise industry, we will be able to assist. So you need a law firm, you need a architect firm, you need a construction company, you need other suppliers, and so on and so forth. So if we can work out and give better suppliers, it will be useful for the industry. But you should do it at your end. How do you really can handle and negotiate or your suppliers, product suppliers? And also marketing would be great at this time, because they are available with all the changes. They can create special products for you, especially for good PR. All the media is available. They're more than happy to help you out in doing it. So all the media companies would be ready to draw a systematic plan for you. And don't do short-term plans with them. Discuss 12-month strategies, 18-month strategy, 2-year strategy, and sign off these numbers with very calculative discussions. And what you would buy today, you will not be able to get 2 years from now. So it's a great time to consciously look at and negotiate your suppliers. Don't overindulge yourself. Plan it well, spread it well, but talk to them right now. Be proactive in talking to them, because you will get better deals at this stage with these companies. Getting a better talent, I think talent is very important, and talent is shifting. And I tell you, when we've been going to franchise organizations, and I used to see only 4 departments in franchise companies, and these departments were sales, operations, marketing, and maybe accounts. That's it. So pretty much almost all franchise companies I used to meet, and they would have these 4, and they would not have any specialized departments in the business. And now you need a lot of new departments, and you need to maybe shift and realign your organizational design. So you need always wanted to have tech, because tech is a big word for a lot of people who have not addressed it. But technology would become more and more important, with 5G coming in, with the new platforms coming in, and so on and so forth. You need to have somebody who's solid on tech. If you're not yourself, you need to have that. You need to obviously have a strong digital presence. Digital economy would play a very important role. Whatever you do, whatever you sell, it will become a very, very critical part of it. You need to have a strong product innovation, and it's a constant exercise to continue to innovate. It's no more that you innovate once in a 5 years or 10 years. You need to have constant innovation, and especially for smaller companies, this is no department. The entrepreneurs themselves, whenever they get strike some idea, they do it, but there is not continuous process of doing that. You would also need a good finance and accounting, because you need more than ever ideas to raise money, ideas to help your franchisees raise money, ideas to collaborate with your bankers. So you need to have somebody who has the talent to go out and do it. Your basic accounting would not help, or you need to maybe have some good consultant coming to you. HR and training would become more than ever important, because HR was for organizations were hiring tools. There were people who were helping you to hire. But now in this crisis, they're the most important people. They are the people who are helping you to manage. Training teams are helping you to manage. They're skilling up people and helping them to do that. And finally, what would be the most important piece of your organization or heart of your organization would be customer retention team, because loyalties would go down, trust levels would go down. So how do you retain your current customer base would become more and more important. So how do you do the 4C model? How do you identify your cost structures? How do you realign, maybe reduce some current departments and add some more functional departments which you need? How do you get commitment from and stability from your team? How do you see long term they stay with you even if everything comes back? They don't want to. If you might get good talent at this stage, but as the big boys start hiring, they want to shift from you to them. But how do you retain at that time the same talent? Because you might get a C-level talent at this stage, because there is a shortage of jobs out there. But as the big boys start hiring, you would like, for security reasons, go back to the large multinationals. But at that time, you need them more. And how do you have a long-term plan on that? And how do you really build continuous competence in your team? And how do you rate their caliber and ability to learn things? And how do you find out that, and assessment tools and so on and so forth. So a lot of that work has to be done on this. But this is a great time for you to acquire a new talent. Don't overindulge yourself in terms of having large teams. Keep alignment, reorganizational structure, and you will be able to get great talent at this stage. Another area which I feel that can be a great opportunity is the conversion of independent operators. I feel that there is an opportunity for you to convert some of the your smaller competition. You can convert them into your, or independent operators can convert into your franchise brand. Like for example, I mean, we are very I mean, one time we started doing these waffle brands, and they were like 20 different waffle brands, and each one of them was, the bigger one was upward of 100 stores, and the smallest one was 577 stores. So I feel that they have pretty much similar product. They buy from the same vendors. They buy from that thing. So if they can collaborate, they can do something together, or they can convert. Some of them would convert, because I feel that if I was running a network of 5-6 franchisees, maybe I will not be able to manage and support these franchises. So they should convert into some bigger player which can help them. So it might be a great opportunity at this stage for you to look at these conversions, actively talk to these independent operators. When I was thinking in the morning that if today India has over almost close to 100,000 uh, eyewear shops, optical shops, over 100,000, right? So these 100,000 uh, almost all depend on imports from China, right? And this would get affected. And these are importers. They are a normal traditional structure. They would have big importers and the brand importers, and then some non-branded importers, and then they will have typical trade distributors, and the distributors would have resellers and these optical retailers. And but if a company like Lenskart, we're very proud of this company, or a Titan Eye Plus, which have their domestic manufacturing capability also. Lenskart actually manufactures in India, and they have a capability. And they go out to these independent operators today and say, change around and become a Lenskart. So it'll bring a lot of security of supply chain. It'll get better margins, super brand, great training tools, great technology, great delivery capability. I got just a day before, I got a call from Lenskart and say, oh, you have not ordered anything we can send you, because we're still sending you at home. How many companies are operating at this stage? Because they still come in essential services. They can still service your optical glasses at home. So these independent shops would not find any capability to compete with a brand like Lenskart. So it will be a great opportunity for Lenskart, and great opportunity for these independent operators to convert, and they would convert into maybe a Lenskart store, or a Titan Eye Plus store, or a Himalaya store, or anybody who's ahead of the game and ahead of and I think, and if they have their own domestic manufacturing, it'll be a great idea. So it also has a strong M&A opportunity. I feel that both vertically and horizontally, I think anytime the disturbance happens in the economy, M&A opportunities would rise. People who are sitting on some capital or ability to raise capital, or their balance sheet is strong enough to give them ability to raise capital, can exercise a lot of options on acquisition very carefully, but it can be a great opportunities, because you will get realistic valuations and so on and so forth. And vertical integration also, I see if some of your suppliers want to come and invest with you, which can collectively improve the margins of the business and so on and so forth. It also can be a great opportunity. So think through where are you sitting? I mean, are you on a buy side, or you are on a sell side? Do you have enough cash to support any acquisition you want to do, or you feel that anybody who can invest with you to take your business ahead or make your business more stable? This is a discussion you should start right now and actively discuss, and no more as businesses would shy away, not openly discuss it. Send out mails, talk to everybody you know in the ecosystem, and say, I'm openly discussing on possibilities like that. People who discuss openly normally get some interest coming to them. Don't wait for anybody to come to you. So reach out as many you want to do. So this is a final part of our, we have created a white paper on franchise re-engineering, which is done by our Francop team. Francop is a US consulting firm, which we run in India called Francop India. So all the participants which are there on the call today, we will be happy to share this detailed report and also share the presentation. So this is a triple eight theory from my side in terms of what I see would happen, in the challenging times of this COVID-19. At Franchise India, we have four strong focus today. One is what we call sustainability of industry. This industry is our identity. 22 years, we have been part of the industries actively. So it's our responsibility that we continue to empower knowledge. Uh, we're working hard on providing a lot of training. Their specialized training. We see a big role of independent brokers in franchising. We see a big role of franchise coaching in the space. So we want to be doing a lot of training. We're already doing a lot of training in these two spaces. One on independent franchise brokers and also on franchise coaches, which would help organizations to become more sustainable. We are also working extensively on collaboration. How do we help within our network? Because fortunately, being in 22 years, we would know almost every stakeholder in the industry. So we can pick up phone for you and help you to integrate within the industry. No obligation. If somebody sends us a message and say, "Can you help me link with that person?" We would be more than happy to do that. By the time it helps you and the industry. Suppliers, we are working on suppliers to collectively come through. We will like to do some forums where suppliers can interact more effectively with the industry. And also dispute resolution, because I feel that sometimes between franchise and franchisees, there are a lot of disputes. And if we can in any form help that in terms of settling those disputes or making help in terms of bringing some kind of a mutual ground, we will be happy to do that. This is more on sustainability of the industry. The second part we're working is innovation on new concepts. We feel that a lot of new concepts will emerge in these times. We're getting a lot of mails and information on people have ideas, how they what they have in mind in terms of exciting future consumer products and consumer services. So we have a product called Start, and the Start really helps a lot of these early startups in franchising, how we can help these startups to build into sustainable enterprises. And we're working on that. Then the biggest part with franchising has always done as a role in the industry is building the investor confidence, because I feel that investor is at this stage at the verge that should I invest right now in a franchise or wait for 2 months or 3 months? So one of the areas which we need to really do is how do we deliver the investor confidence? That should come from quality companies and quality benchmarks, transparent information, right to investors to investigate as much they want to do. They can talk to their past franchisees, ask for financial statements, ask for a lot of information. It should be encouraged more. As a franchise company, you encourage that openly. Go and say, we want to share everything about our company, everything, and you will build a lot of investor confidence. This is the time to open up. This is the time to share even your weaknesses out there, and so we would work hard on creating this. We have a product called Score, which we score every franchise opportunity, how this rates. And finally, I personally working a lot on the M&A side in terms of how do we do these merger and acquisitions. And also I have a product called Bailout. Some companies would be in deep trouble and they would like to exit or find a new buyer. So we're working on that also. So these are four areas which we are working on the franchise side. So this is a little bit from our side. We will have many more forums like these. So I thank you once again to be part of this this webinar. I expect that this would have some value for you. If you have any questions, you can reach me directly on mgaurav@franchiseindia.com, and our teams would circulate our email IDs. So this is so from my side, I will now invite Pratima to take over. So be safe and look after your families and look after yourself. And if Pratima, I have to take some questions, please.
So we still have about 5-10 minutes. If you would like to, we can. While we have a lot of questions, we've got more than 70-80 questions. So I'm not too sure if we can, answer all of them, but we can quickly pick 2 or 3 if you'd like.
Okay, we can take. So how do I? So it comes on my screen.
That's right. So there's a Q&A button at the bottom, which has all the questions.
Okay. I think I can see.
In the meanwhile, I'll also announce the result of the other 2 polls till the time selecting the questions. So our second poll was, what is the expected time for the company's business recovery? About 54% people say it'll take about more than 3 months. 24% people say 1 to 3 months. 4% of the people have said about a month. Our last poll of the day was on, is franchising your preferred franchise route of expansion post COVID-19? About 53% people have said, yes, we would like to continue with franchising. 13% people have said, not likely. 29% people have said, likely, we will start franchising now. We will also be posting all these polls on our Facebook channel of franchise, and this is also going live on our Facebook page. So we are getting a lot of questions that will be get recording of this. So this is available on our Facebook platform.
Great, thank you, Pratima. So I'll take questions. I'll read some question and so there's Devjyoti Chakraborty who's writing, which is the franchise in good franchise industry in this pandemic time in terms of this crisis time. So I would say that there's no one industry I would pick, but they're obviously positively impacted industry. Healthcare, education is always stable. A lot of delivery-based businesses. A lot of FMCG based low cost opportunities. But you really see people don't buy business for 3 months. They don't buy businesses for 6 months or 1 year. They buy businesses for life. And they buy businesses which they always want to do. If your business maybe has some more impact, but you feel that the business is overall stable and overall going to be there for next 10 years, then don't worry, reach out. You will find investors in your business. Give them a little bit comfort. I would say spread the risk. If I was you having a franchise fees of 5 lakh rupees, say pay the franchise fees in 2 parts. Give half now, half you retain for the year, because you might have a little more gestation in this business now. But this business is great. It will still be business for 10 years. I mean, I don't see people are not. I mean, one of the businesses we have is a brand called Pots and Pans. It's one of the largest companies called a European company, Meyer Group. Maybe people are not rushing out to just buy pots and pans right now. But this business is not going to go away anywhere. I mean, it'll obviously have next 2-3 months, not the same level of consumption which they would have. But by the time Diwali hits, they would back in business. They would be, again, home would be in their mind and they would still be buying. So if your location fits into that, you might like to do that. So yeah, so obviously there would be some immediate businesses people would jump on, which I think is obviously anything to do with health, anything to do with wellness, anything to do with the one business which I am becoming big fan now, would become very big, is elder care. Elder care, because we are most worried about our elders now, and which are not with you and you're distance from you, and you need to really, so a lot of find out these businesses, and we will have a full list. We have about 25 categories we've done. We can circulate to you, which we feel are extremely positively impacted businesses, which can be. So there is another question we have is, in the view post COVID, will be impacting banking sector and retail loans. Yes, this is reality. For again short term, retail loans would be impacted, and this would, if your business has that issue, then you need to creatively work with bankers and see how you can continue to do that. But yes, it would be, this is one of the areas, and I think government would work on some kind of stimulation package to bring back the consumer loans aggressively, because people would then only start consuming back. How do you see car detailing business in time to come? Very good business. We were the first company who really brought the word car detailing. You know, the good that you people see this as industry. The first company we did actually came from opportunity and adversity. I tell you this story. There was a company called Car Care out of Surat, and there was a big floods in Surat, and almost all cars got dirty, and with water and everything else. And this guy started. I still remember it was, I think, 2006 or 7, and this guy started this business, and suddenly he built a chain, and then 3M actually started following, and then 3M started, and we were the first ones to work with him. So it's actually, he was the guy who was able to see this opportunity in adversity, because every car was damaged, and they wanted somebody to deep clean it, and so he started detailing business. So it'll always be great business, especially now they're all lying there, nobody is driving them, they all want to rush to detailing centers to get their cars, and especially the expensive ones. So any kind of aftermarket businesses would always be great. Servicing, third-party servicing brands, and so on and so forth. Okay, I'll take few other. Some I would say it's because I would have actually covered in my presentation. I don't want to repeat it. So after the lockdown, what is your vision like for, will be the investors to invest in franchise F&B businesses, or will it take time to, yeah, so this is tricky, so F&B has many shades, and it can be as low as a convenience food, which is these tea stalls businesses. I mean, there is a, if you go and Google, there is a brand called Yavle in Maharashtra, which has 100 outlets. There is a Tea Time in Hyderabad, which has 200 outlets. There's a Chai Point in Bangalore. There's a Tea Post in Ahmedabad. There's a Chai Garam here, and then multiple other chai concepts. What are they doing? They're actually shifting this whole unorganized street food tea stalls. That business is positively impacted, because you will not like to go to a tea stall and drink tea, or you go out in office and smoke and have a tea. You will not do it because you like to go to a branded place which has hygiene. So it has positive impact. But if you were, say, a big, specialty, high-end F&B dining, maybe you would have impact. Maybe for 4 or 5 months, you will have impact. If you are a bar or a club, you might have even a 9-month impact. You will see only by the year end. You will, I think so. F&B would have impact, but it's one of the fastest industries to come back. It needs one day of positivity, and people are out there and they want to celebrate. So if tomorrow somebody raises up hand and say, we found the vaccine, and vaccine can cure everybody in 3 days, we all would be sitting without even worrying about that we can get infection. We will sit in restaurants and eat. So it's all about time. So we are at this stage discussing these issues because we are 1 month into a situation which we have not answered. If the society answers that fast enough, then we will all back in businesses. But yes, some businesses in F&B would be badly impacted. Some would be low impacted, and some would be positively impacted. Delivery is positively impacted. Health food would be big time positive impacted. People would get health food at home. So unfortunately, I use single manufacturing product in India. All come from Germany and America. It's sad. Yeah, that's true. That's Ruchi Sani. You need to really talk to your suppliers and discuss licensing, and tell them to contract manufacture in India or find local suppliers. It's very important that we start this learning and not over depend on imports, because you will see a lot of global issues, border to border issues and things like that. And this would be affecting a lot of businesses, both if you're exporter and importer. So yeah, as a country, we have ability to become more self-efficient, and this is the time to think about it. What important tips you would do for the legal issues? Legal issues, I would say talk and talk openly and try to resolve. If your network is at risk or your franchisee, give a little bit advantage to your franchisee to really maybe take a little bit of a advantage from you. But if they are committed for the brand, if they're not committed for a brand, then you cannot do much about it. And but legal issues are if you can avoid through discussion, through arbitration, through effective dialogue, it's great. But if it's unavoidable, then please seek a good legal advice and protect your brand. Education sector, preschools, great. The only thing you have to do is safety for kids. Every mother, every parent has only one thing in mind: are they sending the kids to the safest environment? So if preschools upgrade and bring safety as a strong point and transparency to the parents, so this business is always going to be in business. But education through technology is way forward. A huge opportunity would come there. Somebody said to continue smooth franchise model for education institutes like mine. It runs a Trishul Defense Academy. Do I have to negotiate on royalty and smooth functioning of entirety? One, I don't think you would have too much of issue on your businesses, because your business works on advance payments from students. But if you feel that you miss the cycle, or getting fresh students on board would be some time, and the franchisee have suffered, you can give them a window of royalty payments, and give them some kind of comfort to have a little bit more play for them for at least for 3 to 6 months, and the business comes back. I would like to know about herbal products and herbal healthcare future. Very big herbal, natural care, natural therapy, all these Ayurveda, not only India, but we can export to the world. But we need to make sustainable models. I don't see many sustainable models. I'm very impressed with this company called Himalaya. Everywhere in the world they run stores. A great company, great products, very consistent. So if you have anything which is natural, anything which is herbal, Ayurvedic, India is the market to export the world. But we have not done enough work in. A lot of players have come in, and they all are micro. And these are not many are really strong big players. What is store for real estate? Real estate would have also shift, corrections, which has been, we are all waiting for 5 years. The real estate was not doing well, but nobody was correcting. Now you will see clear corrections, and people would buy, because India is one of the lowest per capita housing, which means people still don't have their own home. So home would be still a priority among the first 5 priority things they would like to do in their life. So which means that whenever they get the right pricing, they would buy. And I feel that while as an asset class, it will take its own life cycle, but it will come back sooner than the world. A lot of countries, I don't see it's coming back that soon, but India, it will come back. Do you have any grocery franchise? Many of them, very, very good companies. Many companies we have, we can obviously advise you. What impact do you see lack of travel, face-to-face meetings could do on franchise sales? We need to change the model. We need to create much more efficient technology usage. While face-to-face meetings would also come back, people would still travel and meet and things like that. But I would say encourage digital discovery days. You know, uh, get your prospective franchisee online, and take them through a tour of your business. And this should be well planned, well set up full agenda, and you'll see they would get full patient time on that. So these are all things which we have never used. This was all available. We all had technology available, but we never used it. We delayed for these one-to-one meeting. Now we don't delay. We go out and say, I invite you for a video tour of my company, and And I think we should encourage at least the first level, 2, 3 level meetings should always be digital. And then you get into inviting somebody, and somebody should take trouble to travel down and do this. Any advice and thoughts for health and fitness industry respect of franchising? Yeah, fitness is health and fitness. On one side, positively impacted because people become more conscious about health and fitness. But the big boxes, uh, people are now doing app-based, a lot of other functionalities, and so on and so forth. So you need to really adjust your models. I would say, especially fitness industry needs to rework on capex and come with more innovative, like this Cure Fit and a lot of other. While there's still big box would run, I mean, but they need to become more capex efficient and also integrate a lot of digital programs. So your members can come 3 days to fitness centers, and but they can 2 days they don't come. They can still do fitness at home through their own personal trainer training them through their apps and things like that. So a lot of innovation can happen staying in this. Like we are doing about 4 brands now which are in advice on diets and things like that. So they do a lot of products around it. So there's a lot going on in the health and the fitness space. It's the second most watched space on internet. So people are just all day watching how they can get slim and how they can get more fitter. So how do you really integrate technology in your businesses would be more important. Is it time to start agriculture manufacturing company to start franchising? Absolutely great time. Agro-based businesses are great. Our agriculture needs more, technology, more equipment, more efficiency, and this is a great time to do that and create anything which you can create agri-based technology. Nano farming, we're seeing people creating small farms and they're franchising it. They would have 2-acre farm, 3-acre farm, specialty farming, and they supply only to certain bunch of consumer base, only Horeca, only 5-star hotels. So a lot of that is happening. Do you have tips for any people who want to start a new franchise, new business? Yeah. So if you want to start a new business or new franchise, so you have to be. This is a good time to buy a business. Actually, if you really see. But what we need to do is 3-step process, and this is for some people have joined in because they want to do. So first is self-assessment. Understand what is right for you and what is right for your current uh, investment cycle. And if earlier you were investing into business with 3 or 4 months of gestation, now invest with the business with at least 12-month gestation period, which means choose a business and have at least 12 months of money with you, that if you don't take money back home, you still can sustain that business. If you can do that, and a lot of people are coming to me and say, I want to invest 30 lakhs. I say, start with 10 lakhs. Keep your peace of mind. Keep 12 months of gestation. Easily work. World would come back. World would still be buzzing. But this is a great time to enter because you will negotiate everything right now and keep that money on the side. Second step is information, evaluation, and negotiation. We advise at Franchise India 3 steps. First, put as much effort on information. There are hundreds and hundreds of opportunity out there. Even Franchise India advises you, or I advise you, don't take that advice. Go out and find out, do your research. There are enough opportunities available. Second is evaluate what is right for you. Third, negotiate hard. Never shy away from negotiation. And the third part is, there are 4 fits. What I call strategic fit, financial fit, operational fit, and marketing fit. All 4 fits are important, but one is very critical. So see where you fit in. Do you have a location with you which is strategically right for any business? Then that can be strategic fit. If you have, say, a financial advantage, then maybe financial fit. If you're a guy who can take products to the market, you're a marketing guy, maybe that is an advantage. If you have full time, you have 3 other family members who are available in the time, you might take a high operational fit. So see what business fits your. So and I would say anybody who's now looking to buy a business, uh, don't rush. Put a 90-day goal, and 90-day goal, run this information, evaluation time. So first, and unique and useful home automation products, and second is service industry. Please contact me. Okay, this is somebody trying to give them that thing. There is a so there's a client of ours which has written Brownberger. He says that I would like to know that we can stop having our own supply chain and instead of build and tie up with third party. Yes, absolutely. There is the capacities are not fully now today. I mean, Oberoi is doing home delivery. Oberoi never did it. They never used to give even cake out, so because they used to say, oh, you take in the car and they get upset, you'll put Oberoi in the spot. But now they're doing home deliveries. So a lot of people have over capacity now, and there are great capacities, great talent available, and they would do it for you. Don't put your energies in putting your own central kitchens. Use these airline kitchens and so on and so forth. They're all making for you. 35% of first-time buyers is not our KG. We are a franchisor for K12. How would you react to that? So you need seasoned, I think, is Mandhar. Okay, now, so they obviously done, I understand that this might be DY Patil. So this, obviously you would have seasoned investors, and a lot of seasoned investors are coming from large industries which are not doing too well at this stage. Look at exporters. I mean, somebody who's running a 500 crore export business and wants now, if the business is not doing well, and he feels that it'll continue to be like that. Sometimes there will be a dollar movement, there would be some other things happening, restrictions, trade restrictions, uh, other things would happen. So they would like to secure themselves. They would like to put some monies, maybe 10, 20 crores. For them, it is nothing because they're a big company, and they would like to invest into something which is long term, and schools are long term. Schools are for 30 years, 50 years. So they would invest with you. Somebody wants to find out our portal, which is franchiseindia.com. So a lot of inquiry questions are also for people who want to take some particular brand and particular about their brand. I don't want to take those. I'm just going through. How does hub and spoke model in franchising work? It works differently for different companies. Uh, I think there are a lot of questions I cannot take. There are still, I think, there are 88 questions showing to me. So how are we doing, Pratima, on time? And if we can send this questions to, they all look, a lot of look very relevant. I don't want to miss these questions also. If this can be sent to me and I can personally answer them, but there are 88 to do right now. Somebody says in US is a big business. How big is in India? India is about $45 billion franchise industry, but US is very big. Globally, it's a $4 trillion industry. It's a very, very big business. So Pratima, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you've rightly said we've still.
We've run out of time.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And like you've said, we've still got 88 questions unanswered.
Yeah.
But what we can do is we'll send you all the questions, and hopefully our team will be able to put this together on your site, and the other attendees who've asked these questions should be able to get the answers on your site, which is gauravmarya.com.
Yeah, but send directly to me. Take this printout and send it to me,
Okay.
and if I can get their email ID, I will write back to them by weekend. There's somebody who's writing like what should be done in agarbatti industry. We have done a kiosk business for a agarbatti franchise. Uh, you know, there's somebody who's saying what is the potential in telemedicine and dermatology. Great time for telemedicine. Great time for delivery medicine business. So medicines were not allowed to be delivered, but now government is seriously considering that. They've already given some partial approval. So it's a huge industry going to be, and all these Swiggies and all these players would maybe jump into this more than serving you food at home. and they would get two things which would come to your home more often. One would be obviously FMCG and pharmacy, and then ready to eat food. So people would still cook food at home or heat it and eat it, but they would prefer more packed food rather than something which has been cooked in kitchen. You don't know and how it was dealt. So you will trust brands. Maybe a strong brand gives you sends you a ready to eat, like ITC sends you a meal which is ready to eat, biryani which is sent to your home, which you can just put in the oven or heat it up. You will trust that more. So you see a lot of that delivery starting now. Gaming zones, a very big industry, but gaming in home is also going to be a bigger industry. Somebody saying, what is a cookware industry? Cookware would stay there. It's a very stable consumption. Smart multiplex, miniplexes is at this stage a little bit of a gestation, but it has class. In some states it runs a special class for what I call these different classifications for that. In some industries is a big opportunity, under penetrated markets. So I'm doing this now because a temptation for me to go on, because there are a lot of questions in 93. So, and thank you very much for your time, and I hope we and send these questions to me, Pratima, and thank you once again.
Sure, I'll have this question sent to you. Thank you, sir, for the very insightful discussion and addressing so many questions. I'm sure this was a fairly helpful session to all our attendees. It was fantastic to have you all here. We wish to see you again in the near future, and hopefully offline and not in the confines of your houses. Please answer the short survey visible on your screen towards the end of this session. It will be helpful to get some relevant feedback and come back with more webinars like these. Stay healthy, stay safe, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.